So, how do you go from just a chaotic life, feeling overwhelmed and just in the middle of all of it, to having tremendous confidence and having clear direction? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's Speak and Get What You Want podcast with the great Sarah Pursley. Sarah, how are you today?
I'm so good. How are
I
you?
am fantastic, and I love that we're taking on this subject today with you because, Sarah, you're a mother. You have
Mhm.
three boys.
Yes. Yes.
And you've put your husband through dental school, and he's a
Mhm.
dentist busy with building his practice, and you now are an online fitness coach.
I am.
So dental school wasn't enough, having three boys isn't enough. You're now saying, okay, I'm going to go impact more people with your online fitness. Okay, Sarah, what got you to say, okay, I can do this? Because when I start describing your life initially, it just feels very chaotic. I mean,
Very cool.
dental school is crazy. Beginning your practice is crazy. Having three little boys is crazy. So, what brought you to say, okay, I want to have influence, I want to have impact, I'm going to do this online fitness training?
Well, I would say maybe there's a part of me that really likes to have some semblance of control. And when there's so many curveballs that come at you through demo school, through having your own practice and all the life throws
Right.
curveballs at you. But you know what I can control? I can control how I show up, and I can control what I want to do. Right, and I have seen in my own life how being on my own health and wellness journey has blessed me through dental school, all through dental school. And I want to be able to help other people in similar circumstances get to that spot of confidence, just to go from chaos to that confidence. So
Okay, so what you're saying and what I'm hearing you say is when you're living a chaotic life, life's kind of happening to you. But when you say you're living a confident life, you're going to happen to life. It's crazy. I love that you said that, life throws a lot of curveballs at you, but you can always control how you show up. Okay, what
Mhm.
did you mean by that?
Well, and it's like I'll have women who I coach that are feeling overwhelmed with their chaos and stuff that of their own life because motherhood is chaotic. And what I always tell them is just find one thing that you can control. One thing, whether that's a corner of your house that stays immaculate. I have one that has a drawer in her kitchen that no one touches. It always stays clean and organized, and it's one thing that they can control. That's how they show up for themselves. I have this one thing. One thing. Another thing that I love to teach my clients is your mindset. You can go from almost like a scarcity, panicky mindset of I got to get this done. I got to get this done. The laundry needs to go in. I got to do dishes. I have to teach Sunday school on Sunday, and I got to do this, this, and this. Or you can show up with a gratitude mindset of, man, I am so lucky that I have three kids that I get to chauffeur around to sports and to school. And I'm so lucky that I get to teach these kids on Sunday for Sunday school. I'm so lucky that I have enough dishes in my sink to be able to put food on to feed my family. It's different. It goes from panicky to almost a little more in control of what's going on.
Managing that mindset. Okay, so you said managing the mindset of gratitude. And so when everything's coming at you and you feel overwhelmed, pausing and taking a moment to be grateful for everything you have. But that's
Yeah,
hard. That's hard when you're in the middle of it. And so how do you
it is.
help train people to have that moment of gratitude in the middle of chaos?
Totally. And it is hard when you're in the middle of it to be like, man, my baby's up 5 times a night. And how am I supposed to? I feel like a zombie, just getting up. And sometimes with the clients who are struggling with it, I tell them first thing in the morning, what we do first thing in the morning, gratitude, gratitude, very first thing, because that sets the tone for the entire day. If I start my day thinking, man, I am so grateful. Maybe I'm not excited to do motherhood today, but man, I'm grateful for my kids. It makes the burdens that we carry and the things that we have a lot less stressful.
Okay,
Like
Sarah.
we're
So that's like the second or third time I've heard that this week, and so it must be trying to send me a message, and that is that morning really starts the trajectory of the day. Tell me more about that. So how we're
absolutely.
starting our morning.
Oh, I love morning routines are will absolutely make you will make you who you are. If you get up and you do your gratitude and you make your bed, accomplish a little goal throughout the day. I mean, so many studies have shown that that will make the difference throughout your days. Accomplish something little, do a little meditation, a gratitude journal, a prayer, whatever, and then you start your day and because you controlled your mindset and because you controlled your little, accomplishment, making your bed, whatever, you're able to let a little more go out of your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like make a little more. It's easier to let the curveballs come because at least you controlled this part of your life. This part of your morning, I have control here. Okay, let's get the ball rolling. Does that make
It
sense?
makes perfect sense. It's like when you when you take your kids bowling and they put up the bumpers, your morning routine's throwing up those bumpers because regardless of where that ball's going to bounce, it's going to end up in a good spot because you've
Right.
put those bumpers up, and that would be your morning routine.
Oh yeah, Chad, I love that analogy. That is a perfect analogy. The bumpers. My kids love the bumpers.
Right.
If we don't have bumpers, it's a bad time. It's a bad time.
Exactly. But if you do have those, even when things bounce around, even when things don't go exactly as you'd hope, the outcome is significantly better. So so when you talk about life having control over your life and instead of, being reactive, being proactive, you're saying it starts in the morning and
Mhm.
and that's when your purpose or your direction gets set.
Yes, absolutely.
So, what about when obstacles come? How do you regain that traction when,
It's
when people are like, okay, I started off good, things went well, and now I got this bomb just dropped on me?
No, and it's hard. I I've at the risk of sounding like a hypocrite. I mean, I feel like I've done this several times where a bomb's been dropped, a kid threw up, or something fell through, and you're like wanting to rip your hair out. You're like, oh my gosh, like I wish I could just crawl back in bed, and be fine. And when those things happen, those are the moments that are gonna define us, right? If we're going to show up or we're going to retreat. Are we going to show up when the kid's throwing up? Of course you're going to show up for that kid.
Right.
Show up for yourself too. Something fell through. Okay. All right. What's the next step? What's my next step? That's what defines who you are. I feel like in at the end of it is how you bounce back from when those curveballs hit you or when the bomb drops.
Well,
How do you react?
well, and Sarah, and as you're saying that, I'm thinking back to what you said and how important that morning routine is. You can get off track a little bit, but the morning routine has grounded you so much that it's helped you feel like you have direction because the chaos comes. Doesn't the chaos come when you just don't know where you're headed? I mean, think about
Absolutely.
this for a moment. Is there any place more chaotic than like Disneyland? Right?
No.
Could you imagine? So, Sarah, most people are waking up in their life in Disneyland and just kind of walking around going, this is very chaotic. But if you know you're going to Space Mountain, you just navigate it and you get there.
That's a perfect analogy. Yeah, it doesn't matter all the chaos, it doesn't matter because you know where you're going. Yeah, this kid's crying over here, this guy's getting a pretzel, whatever, you know where you're going, right? I love it.
That's right. So, Sarah, how has health and fitness become your Space Mountain or your destination? How has that changed the way you show up, putting more focus and energy on your health and well being?
Absolutely. I always tell my clients that in order to put their family first, they need to put themselves first, actually. Because
Okay,
if you're put
okay. Let me just stop you right there. I think that's something that's just overlooked way too often. You really can't. People are all like, for some reason, we feel guilty putting ourselves first, but you
Mhm.
absolutely have to do that. Okay, I love that. Go on.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, if you can't pour from your empty tank,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
If you're empty, how can you possibly pour into everybody else around you? You can't. It's impossible. And so when we're feeling and diligent about filling up our own cups, we can then fill up everybody else's around us, right? But we need to fill up ours first.
Yeah, it's no quite for me, personally, these last few years, I've had a much more or a much greater commitment to fitness. And it's been amazing to me how how I feel physically impacts every area of my life. And
Absolutely.
so
And
when I neglect the physical part, it feels like the other areas also feel neglected. So Sarah, do you find that when people are struggling with chaos, when people are feeling overwhelmed, that they actually when they stop and take care of their health, it actually changes how they feel about their current state?
absolutely. And yeah, I will. Like nothing else will change in their life. They still got a million things to do. They still are struggling with A, B, C, and D. It's not going to make those things go away, right? But now that we're putting ourselves first, not only are we having that trajectory, we're also having a self love. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Easy to forget about ourselves when we're so giving to other people. But when we have a second and give ourselves like a little pat on the back, a little like, you can do it. The stress, the strain that exercise puts on you, like even mentally, of like, man, I can accomplish something. Man, that set was hard. And guess what? I did it. Good for me. Like high five, self five for me. And that's going to increase your confidence, right? It's going to increase your ability to achieve, not because it's actually increased, but because you think it's increased, and therefore it is increased. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then the reality is people who feel good about themselves produce good results. That's just the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
When someone feels good, and we've talked about on this show before that people match your energy, right? They
Yeah.
if you have positive energy, they'll match it typically with negative or positive energy, and the same with negative, you know. And so those people that go around with so much positive energy, they attract other positive people to them.
This episode is brought to you by the Speak and Get What You Want Academy, the place designed to help you get clarity, build confidence, and gain the tools to create the life you want. If you're tired of drifting, guessing, or feeling stuck, the Academy gives you the proven roadmap, mentorship, and community you need to become your best self. Visit speakandgetwhatyouwant.com.
So
Yeah.
so let me ask you this, Sarah, when someone comes to you and they say, "Sarah, I just don't have the time for health and fitness. I just don't." What do you say to that?
Um, I'll nicely, of course, nicely say, yes, you do, actually. You do. You have, it's in your control, right? And if that means we need to reprioritize what happens first, if you have your screen time thing that comes up,
Yeah.
like how if you have more than 2 hours on your phone, you have time to exercise. You have time to 2 hours a day on your phone. If you have more than that, you have time to exercise. You have time to put into yourself.
Well, it's so okay, so some people say, "I just don't have time." In reality, as you're saying, is they just don't have it as a priority.
It's not your priority.
So
If you don't have it, it's not your priority.
so then, Sarah, what so if they say, "Okay, I have let me see if I can create time." What other blocks cause people to neglect their health?
Well, I think sometimes it comes back to familiarity. Like, what is familiar to you? Are you familiar with getting up in the morning and eating a crap ton of sugar every morning? Is that familiar to you? Because people will go back to what is familiar to them. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
no, that makes perfect sense. I love that you share that because that's what people do, right? We all set our thermostats in our home. Where do you keep your home at? What temperature?
The 68.
It's 68. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's Cassie's the same way, 68
Yeah.
degrees, right? But some people are like 73, whatever it is, and people pick a temperature they're comfortable with. And that's what you're saying. People like that familiar. They like to set, they get comfortable. And then Sarah, you come in and you start turning up the heat or turning down whatever, and they're just like, this isn't comfortable. I'm not
Yeah,
familiar with this. I like coming into a home at 68 degrees.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Same.
how do you but Sarah, how do you get them to feel familiar with it? Because I'll just share with you right now. I neglected the gym for 30 years because I didn't know what to do in the gym. I didn't know what to do. And so it was unfamiliar territory for me. And so the only reason why I started going to the gym is because my son Andrew was getting ready to serve a mission for our church, and I wanted to spend time with him. And Andrew doesn't talk much, but he goes to the gym. And so I'm like, well, I got to go to the gym with Andrew. And so it built this familiarity. And now I love going to the gym. So, but how do you build that familiarity in the hearts of people so that they feel comfortable taking care of themselves and going to the gym or whatever exercise they choose?
Absolutely. I think it all comes down to consistency, right? You have to, if it's not familiar to you, it has to become familiar to you. I had a client check in with me on Sunday or Saturday last week, and I gave her a few days off because she was showing some signs. I was just stressing her out. So I was like, yeah, just take a few days off, take 3 days off. And she came back to me after that and she was like, I hated that. I want to be in the gym. I want to be in the gym now. She's like, I thought it was going to be the most stress free, whatever. She's like, but now I've built the habit of getting my booty in the gym. And now I want to be there because that is what is familiar to me now is the gym.
Okay, so the power of consistency. They create that consistency, but you combine that with accountability. And
Mm-hmm.
that's probably, I mean, not to minimize what you do as a phenomenal online coach, but one of those things that you do that could be perhaps most impactful is what you just said there, is creating accountability.
Yeah. It is. Accountability is huge. That's why people reach out to me, right? They need someone. They might know how to do it. They might not know how to do it. But if I am there and they know, I have my own personal trainer. I have my own personal trainer and I know at the end of the week when I screenshot my fitness pal and she sees what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my mouth, it makes me make better decisions because I know she's going to hold me accountable and she's going to say like, what the heck, what are these Oreos that you weren't supposed to be eating? What is that about? And I don't want to have that conversation, so I
Right.
don't eat the Oreos.
Well, and Sarah, I love that you bring that up because I think this is something really important for everyone, regardless of their age, but especially those in their 20s and 30s, to understand that you can't do this on your own. You
No.
just can't. Like the most successful, and I've been around some incredibly successful people. None of them, Sarah, did it on their own. They all had mentors, they all had coaches, they all had people guide them along the way. And to your point, you said, look, I have an online coach, or I have a coach that keeps me accountable. Sarah, you're keeping people accountable, right? But you still need and have a mentor that helps you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am unashamed to admit. And that's I think that's what creates the connection between me and my clients, right? Is because I'm also in their position in a different situation, with a different I'm in their position. And when they do screw up, I'm like, "Bro, I get it. I get that you were stressed and you had all these things going on. I get it. I've done it too. Now it's time to move on." You know what I mean? There's more compassion, there's more empathy,
Sure.
and there's connection because of that. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
absolutely. So Sarah, what would you say to people that feel like they can do it? And I'm sure you even have people that reach out to you that struggle having somebody keep them accountable. They struggle feeling like they're inferior because they have to have a coach. What do you do to build them up to realize this is exactly what you need?
I think everyone should have a coach.
Hmm.
Honestly, everyone needs a coach. I do not care who you are. I do not care how successful you are. You need a coach, right? You need someone to hold you accountable. And like some people can do it, but even the people who can do it can only go to a certain extent without help, without accountability. Everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a mentor. Just like you were saying, nobody got where they were without help from somebody.
And not just one person, but multiple people that they've
Mhm.
reached out to that have really given them hope. And how important is having hope in what you do, Sarah? Is that, I mean, people reach out to you not just for accountability, not just for consistency, but they want to know there's hope for them. I,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, on this show, we can't have your before and after pictures, but Sarah, you had quite a transformation yourself where you really, I mean, you had 3 kids. I mean, well, you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to put as many people to bed as you woke up in the morning, right? And so
Yes.
and then you're saying, "No, there's hope for me not just to survive, but yet to thrive." How do you
Mhm.
give people hope that may be listening on this going, "Okay, I know I probably need a coach. I probably should start talk to Sarah, but the reality is I don't know if there's hope for me."
Mhm.
What do you say to that individual?
Well, I don't want to put my experience on anybody else, but I am a mom of 3 kids, and we've only had one fall off a 12-foot balcony, so that's good, right? They're crazy. It's WWE SmackDown at my house at all times. In fact, I hear them downstairs. I hope you can't hear
No,
them
I
downstairs.
can't.
We have each other, just wrestling. It's crazy, and I have a lot on my plate, just like everybody else. But I am not special. I am not special in the least. And if I can do it, there's no reason why you can't. You
I
know.
love that. I love that. It's important. I mean, hope is the driving factor. It just, everyone should realize, regardless of where they're at, regardless of where they may be, regardless of their overwhelm, there's absolutely hope for them.
Yeah, and I just want to add that I think hope and trust, especially in this context, in the context of health and fitness, are absolutely intertwined with each other. If we're trusting the process, we are hoping for the best outcome, right?
Ye-
So if we're
ye-
sitting and we're
Okay,
able
but
to trust,
trusting the process. I love that you said that. And I'm gonna have you unpack that a little bit because we live in a very instant gratification society in a world where people want things fast. So tell me, what do you mean by that? Trust the process.
if we are trusting the process, or if we are really putting our trust totally in this process, we're going to have no problem doing our cardio and getting our macros in, right? Because we know that it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. It's not if, it's when. So when we're trusting the process, we are hoping for the best outcome, and we're going to do what it takes to get us there, you know.
I love that. I love that. Knowing that, look, if I do this, this is the proven outcome. I think most people get discouraged, Sarah, because they don't have a process at all. And they don't have a process because they don't know the outcome they're looking for. And so do
Mhm.
you help people? Is that one of the things you do when you sit down with fitness as you're coaching them online? Help them to discover why they want to get in better shape? What is it
Absolutely.
about them that's stirring this emotional drive to have a better fitness plan?
Right. No, your why is so incredibly important. Your why could be your kids,
Mm.
right? I want to be a better mom for my kids. I want to be a better wife for my husband. I want to be a better, whatever occupation they have. I want to be better. But I think at the top of that list, at the risk of sounding maybe selfish, it needs to be yourself. Your why needs to be you. I want to do this because I want it. And consequently, it's going to help my kids, it's going to help my husband, it's going to help my house be more organized. It's, going to give me a drive, a place, that Space Mountain. It's going to give me that Space
Yeah.
Mountain, so I can get there, but everyone is going to benefit from that if we're just putting ourselves first. I am my own why. Like unabashedly, like I am my own why. I want to feel good in my skin, you know.
Right.
I want to feel healthy. I want to be able to run a mile and not feel like I'm going to vomit,
Mm.
you know. I want to be able to keep up with my kids. I want to be able to wrestle with my kids without, feeling like, oh no, if I injure myself, I'm not going to come back from it. There
Right.
are goals that, but I'm at the top, and I feel like to an extent, you do have to put yourself at the top of that.
That's awesome. I love that. It's brilliant because the reality is you can say, I want to be in greater health because of my children or whatever it is that's driving you. But at the end of the day, you have to want to do it for you because Sarah, that's the only way they'll commit to the process, right? If they see how they win.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sarah, when you engage with someone, what is the very first thing you want to understand about them?
I want to understand. Well, we have like the physical things of like, do you have any injuries? Right. I want
Right.
to be aware of injuries of like, of where we're starting at, but I also want to know where they're coming from. Does that make sense? I
Yeah.
want to know their. I want to know if you get up in the morning and flood your system with sugar. I want to know that. I want to know if running to you is a fun time. if that's where you came from. Do you come from a family that had those habits, or did you not come from a family that had those habits? Where are your habits now? You know? So where are you coming from? And it gives me a better idea of where to start them if I know past. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
it makes perfect sense. It's interesting as you unpack that. First, you want to know what damage they've had in life, right?
Mhm.
You want to know
Yeah.
where you've been injured, where have you been damaged, where have you had, bumped the wall a little bit. And
Yeah.
then number two, where are you now? Like,
Mhm.
where are you currently now? Where's your state of mind? What's your mindset? And then that third piece, where do you want to be? And Sarah, I think that is awesome because that's very easy for somebody. And I can see why you're such a successful coach because you break it down so simply for people. What damage, because we all have damage. We're all at a current state and we all have hope of a better place. And you help them determine all three of those.
Yeah. And they come to that conclusion by themselves. I do like the reactive listening of making sure I'm like following what they're saying, but they kind of have to come to those conclusions for themselves by themselves. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You can't tell them those things. You can't stir that emotion within them. They have to have that emotion stirred within themselves. Or, frankly, Sarah, they'll never stick to the process as you talk about.
Absolutely.
That is
Absolutely.
key. Sarah, I absolutely love what you share. What's the best way someone can get a hold of you?
Well, I have an Instagram account, Sarah Pursley underscore at the very end, Sarah Pursley underscore. I also have a TikTok account, same thing, Sarah Pursley, except on my TikTok account, it's Sarah Pursley Fit underscore. And that's how you get a hold of me.
That is awesome, Sarah. I love what you're doing. You're having such awesome impact, not only in your home with your husband and your kids, but with the world and helping everybody live a better life. I love that. Sarah, thanks so much for coming on. Loved having you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye now.